Hey everyone, Paul here from FamilyWheels.ca with another car review for your growing family. And this week on the program, we're in the 2017 Chrysler Pacifica, a minivan that's really meant to shake up the whole minivan segment. So, while we normally would just do our regular full-length review and call it a day, this week we're going to do a second video as well, which is what you're watching right now, our top 12 favorite things about the Pacifica. First up is that 3.6-liter V6 engine, which gives you best-in-class power, but also gives you best-in-class fuel efficiency. We're averaging this week 10.9 liters per 100 kilometers. That's mostly city driving as well, which is really quite reasonable when you consider how large this vehicle is, a great big 7-passenger family hauler. It also has best-in-class towing capacity, which still isn't great at 3,600 pounds. It means that you could tow a smaller trailer, a smaller boat, that sort of thing. Next up, the interior on this car. I mean, check it out. It really does not look like an old minivan of days gone by. In fact, if you weren't looking into the back seat trying to find some Cheerios for your kids, you'd never really think you were sitting in a minivan. It does feel a lot more sedan-like and really quite high-end as well, certainly here in this limited trim that we're in here this week. Now, when you actually get on board this vehicle and start playing around with all the different cubby holes, you'll realize just how many storage options you have in the Pacifica. There are tons of them, not just for rear passengers anymore either, but lots of really clever little nooks for the driver too. Now, while it certainly isn't new for 2017, I think Chrysler's Stow and Go system is certainly worth a mention because it really does set the gold standard in terms of flexibility of this rear area of the Pacifica. In fact, Chrysler says there are 243 different configurations that you can make for passengers and cargo. And I don't quite know how they figured out that number, but it is a very, very flexible space. Now, when you do have it set up for passengers, some really clever features new for 2017 include, to my count, 7 USB ports. So that means that every position in this vehicle is going to give you a place to charge your phone. We're so dependent on these devices these days. And if you want your kids with the optional entertainment system here in the second row to play around on that, it's not just a DVD player anymore. You can plug in HDMI cables for, watching things on your iPad, that sort of thing. But it also is a gaming station, and not just kind of junky games either, but you can set them up with a math quiz or have them do some interesting language tests. So it's really well thought out entertainment system here in the second row too. Now, if you want your kids instead to be having a nap, standard this year are second and third row sunshades. It means that you're going to be able to make that cabin a lot darker for long family road trips, especially if you have young kids who need to try and get some shut-eye while they're on the road. And that's a good thing because here in this upper level trim, we have a 3-paned panorama sunroof, which is absolutely huge and does let in a lot of light. Of course, you can close those off as well to kind of darken up the cabin. I mean, check it out. This thing is massive. And while we're up here, mind the dust, by the way, it has been kind of nasty here this week. Check this out. These crossbars, which you would use for putting on a ski box, a bike rack, maybe even for bringing back a Christmas tree at this time of year from the tree lot, are collapsible here into the roof rails. It means that you don't have to soak up a bunch of room in your garage to find a place to store these things. They just store right here on the roof itself. Let's have a look here at the third row because there's a lot of space back here too. But it's not until you use this button right here and actually start to stow the seats. This is an option on the higher level trim of the Pacifica. The seats go down on their own, a little slower than I'd like, but still really slick. And once this seat goes down, you're going to realize just how much cargo space this thing has. Almost 2,500 liters behind the second row. And that's more than double what we have in the Subaru Outback that we tested a couple weeks ago, which already had a very reasonably sized trunk. Now, if you do have a bunch of stuff back here that's making a real mess, or kids for that matter, there is an optional built-in vacuum cleaner too. So some really slick kit there in terms of keeping this vehicle clean, and also a lot of cargo options too. But if it's not sheets of plywood that you're hauling around in the back of the Pacifica, which will fit, by the way, and instead it's your family, of course you want it to be safe, the new Pacifica also has a top Safety Pick Plus rating from the IIHS. Finally, it doesn't look bad. There are a lot of minivans out there that kind of have a bit of a toaster-like look, and they're getting better. But the Pacifica isn't a hard pill to swallow on that front either. So some really slick kit on this vehicle for 2017. There are some things that I do take issue with though, so make sure to check out our full review at familywheels.ca, and thanks for tuning in.